Hello, Mind Body Masters, and welcome to episode number 17 of the podcast. It's great to have you here. Now, today's episode is titled, Your Body is Not Broken, Your Environment Is. So if you're someone who's been struggling with your health, maybe you've been battling your body or fighting some kind of condition or symptom or pain, this episode is for you. And what we're going to dig into here is one of the core beliefs that keeps people stuck. And that core belief is that there is something wrong with my body. My body is somehow broken. Now, not only is this belief very disempowering, but it actually also keeps you stuck and sick. So we're going to talk all about that, and I'm going to teach you exactly how you can start to move through that. So make sure you stay tuned. Hi, I'm Jay Curry. As a former chiropractor, I realised that people's physical symptoms started in their mind and not in their body, which is why I now teach people how to heal themselves from the inside out. Now, you don't need to be a monk or a mystic to heal yourself. You just need to learn how to master your mind-body connection. And this podcast is going to show you how. You're going to learn how to understand the hidden meaning of your symptoms, resolve the old emotional baggage that's kept you stuck, and gain practical tools to reduce the stress in your life. This is going to give you the ability to heal not only physically, but also spiritually. And this comes with a dangerous level of freedom. So let's help you become a mind-body master. All right, MBM people, what is happening? It's been a hot minute since we've our last episode of the podcast, and that is because we've been in the thick of the Mind Body Masters program, teaching people how to heal themselves from the inside out by dealing with and resolving a lot of the old emotional baggage and patterns and doing a lot of the inner work, right? So, and this is what we're going to be talking a little bit about today, because one of the common themes that I saw with the students when they enrolled in MBM and when they started this work is a lot of them were struggling with some kind of symptom. A lot of them were battling with their health. A lot of them were fighting a particular condition. These are their words, not mine. And I noticed that this is a really common theme, and you might resonate with this as well. You might be one of those people out there that feels like you're really battling against your body. So I wanted to take the time to record an episode on this particular topic because I think it's so important. And once you can actually start to shift this, once you can actually start to shift this belief, this is when healing starts to happen for you. Because one of the things I'm going to teach you today is the belief that there is something wrong with you, there is something broken in your body, or your body is somehow faulty, is actually a belief that keeps you stuck and actually keeps you very sick, keeps your symptoms perpetuating. So this is something that a lot of the students in my program went through, and they made the transition from thinking that their body was broken to starting to recognize that their body is actually working for them. Their bodies are making smart adaptations, and when they start to make this transition, not only does it take a lot of pressure off them to try and fix things and heal things and move through things, but they actually stop fighting themselves. They actually stop fighting their symptoms. They stop fighting their body, and they start to really appreciate and recognize their symptoms. Because like I've said before in this podcast, and like you've probably heard me say, is your symptoms are meaningful, and your symptoms are actually a really beautiful opportunity for you to grow. They're a really beautiful opportunity for you to do the inner work, because one of the things that you probably know by now from listening to this podcast, and if you don't, make sure you go back to the start and have a listen there. But one of the things that you likely now know is that any physical symptoms that you have aren't physical, right? So the unresolved emotional stress in your life, the old emotional baggage, these things that you hold on to, these unexpected and stressful events that you've experienced in your life, they impact your body. And this is one of the biggest things that's so overlooked in traditional methods of healing and health. And once you start to recognize this, and once you start to deal with this real root emotional cause, this is when everything starts to change for you. But one of the things that needs to happen before you start dealing with this emotional baggage, before you start dealing with the old hurts and traumas that you've experienced, is you need to start to recognize that your symptoms are actually meaningful. So today's episode is all about your body's not broken, your environment is. So I'm going to talk about how, firstly, it's not your body that's broken, how your body's actually creating smart adaptations designed to help you cope with stressful events, designed to help you cope with changes in your environment. And I'm going to talk about how what we should be focusing on fixing and healing and working through is not our physical symptoms, but the emotional and the emotional stresses that are causing them. So If that sounds interesting, this episode is going to be fantastic for you. And once you make this shift, you actually stop perpetuating the cycle. You actually stop making more work for yourself. And this is one of the key things that you must get in order to start healing from the inside out. So this episode is going to be really impactful for you. So I want to start with a question, and I want to get back to it at the end. And that question is, what if your body's actually not broken? So most people, and this is such a commonly held belief, that if you have pain, if you have a skin issue, if you've got a tummy ache or any other kind of digestive issues, we immediately start to think that there is something wrong with our body. There must be some kind of mistake. There must be some kind of problem or faulty mechanism inside our body that's led to us experiencing the pain, led to us experiencing whatever symptom that may be. But what if having symptoms, what if having pain, what if having any other kind of condition in your body, what if it doesn't mean that your body's broken? Now, most of us have been indoctrinated since we were very young to believe that if we did have some kind of symptom, it meant that there was something wrong. We go to the doctor and you need to get something fixed in order to change, in order to be healthy, in order to heal. But one of the things that's so overlooked is no one ever looks at what's your emotional state like? What's been going on in your life? Have you experienced any unexpected and distressing events? No one ever looks at this, and no one ever makes the connection between our life and our symptoms. But that's what we do here on the podcast. And that's what you're doing as a mind body master, starting to recognize that your symptoms are caused by the changes in your environment. So my question for you is, what if your body's actually not broken, but what if your environment is the thing that's broken? So I've got a really great example that's going to set the scene here. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how your environment is the key. But I've used this example before, somewhere either on Instagram or here on the podcast, I'm not too sure. But imagine a houseplant, right? Now, I joke because Jazz and I, we have houseplants, and we tend not to be very good houseplant parents. So we know that if you neglect a plant, if it doesn't get the right water or doesn't get the right sunlight or anything like that, eventually it starts to wilt. The leaves start to go brown. Now, if you're like most people, when you look at a wilted leaf, when you look at a brown plant that's droopy and looks quite unhealthy, you don't immediately go, oh, that plant's diseased, there must be something wrong with the plant. No, of course not. You don't think those thoughts. You go, oh, there must be something wrong with the plant's environment. It must need some more water. Maybe it needs some more sunlight. Maybe there's not enough nutrients in the soil, right? So this is a really simple example, is if a houseplant is sick, if a houseplant has like some kind of symptom, you don't think that it's sick. Even I just had to catch myself then, because we would say that plant looks sick, right? But it's not. It's actually just adapting, and it's actually changing because of what's going on in the environment. So if you have a wilted and droopy plant, and you look at that and go, oh, it's actually not broken, it's not damaged, it's not a sick plant, it actually just needs some more water. We need to actually change something here in this plant's environment, and that's going to help it to heal. That's going to help it to flourish. And so this is a really easy thing to understand when it comes to houseplants. And if you're anything like me, I'm sure you can relate to seeing your houseplants looking anything less than healthy. But what if the same principle applies with your body? Instead of your body being broken, instead of your symptoms meaning there's something wrong with you, what if there's actually something wrong with your environment? What if there's actually something within your environment that needs attention? And so this is the place that I want you to start to work from. Well, you don't have to start to work from it. You can do whatever you like, but it'd serve you really well to work from this place. Now, that's a very simple example of the houseplant and having a wilted leaf, and how you looked first at the environment, and how if you fix that environment, that's when the plant's going to start to thrive again. And that's what I want for you, and I hope that's what you want for yourself, but to start thriving again and to stop fighting your symptoms. So on the topic of fighting your symptoms, these are the words that I heard when I asked the people why they joined. They're like, I'm just sick of fighting with my body. I've just been battling this pain for the last 30 years, or I've been battling these headaches, or I've been struggling with this particular condition for blah, 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 right? The words were all about a battle. The words were all about a fight. And it strikes a really interesting image, because why would we want to fight, or why would we want to battle against something that's actually trying to help us? So this is something I want you to ponder. Now, with this, with the belief that there is something wrong with my body, with the belief that my body is faulty or broken, what that leads us to do is it leads us to focus on the problem. Now, so often, and this is the thing that keeps so many people stuck, is when they have some kind of symptom, they're focusing on fixing that symptom. Say they've got shoulder pain. You're focusing on your shoulder and going, oh, there's something wrong with my shoulder here. I need to fix that. And you go and try all kinds of different therapies and modalities and all the rest of it. And you're doing things externally, like I've talked about on previous episodes. So all the doing things externally actually keeps you stuck. And the belief that if you have the thought or the belief that my shoulder is broken, there is something wrong with my shoulder, this actually creates further change in that shoulder. So if you realize that your thoughts are things, your thoughts are very powerful things, and your body will physically respond to those thoughts as if they are real. And the example I always use is, think of a lemon. If you imagine a lemon, and you imagine going to your fridge and opening the fridge door and seeing a bright yellow lemon in the fridge, and you take it out and you put it on your cutting board, and you take out your favorite knife and you cut through that lemon, and you see all the juices starting to flow, and you can start to smell the citrus. And then you think about taking a bite of that lemon. Well, chances are, if you're like most people, you're actually going to experience the sensations of salivation. Your body is actually going to be preparing to deal with that tangy lemon, even though there's actually no lemon there. So what this demonstrates is that our body doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So when we have these thoughts that there is something wrong with me, my shoulder, for example, is broken, or there's something wrong with it, your body goes, okay, there's something wrong with your shoulder. Let's create some further changes to help that shoulder get stronger. Now, the thing here is, when it comes to muscles and bones and joints in this example, in order to get stronger, what first must need to happen to the muscles, to the joints? And the answer is they need to first break down. Now, if you've been to the gym before and you've done any kind of heavy lifting, or you've gone on a big hike, what you'll experience is when you're doing that exercise, when you're doing the weightlifting or the strenuous hike, your muscle fibers are actually tearing. They're actually undergoing the micro tears. This is like year 10 anatomy. This is year 10 sports science. Your muscle fibers actually undergo these micro tears. Now, when those micro tears heal, this is actually when we build muscle. This is actually when we get stronger. And this is what actually helps us to be better prepared to lift weights in the future, or to go for that same hike in the future. Now, we don't actually get the pain when the muscle fibers are tearing, because you've usually got adrenaline and cortisol running through your body. We actually get the pain a few days later when we're sitting on the couch resting. And when we're resting, our brain goes, great, we can start to heal this. And through the process of inflammation and swelling, those muscle fibers will undergo the repair. And that's typically a painful process. So here's the thing. These thoughts that there is something wrong with me, my body is broken, it actually causes physical changes at the level of your tissues. So that it's going to actually cause your tissues to break down. And the reason being is because your body's trying to help you. Your body's trying to make you stronger. So what that does is, so many people get stuck in this loop of when they experience some kind of injury, instead of going, oh, that's interesting, I wonder what's gone on in my environment. I wonder where I feel guilty, where I feel like I've let someone down. I wonder where I feel badly about something. Instead of looking at their environment and what stressful events they've experienced recently, they go, oh no, there's something wrong with my shoulder. There's something really bad here. And those thoughts create further change, and it delays the healing time. And often it can be the difference between experiencing pain for a couple of days and experiencing pain for a couple of years. And this is the thing that people in the program, this is one of the first things that I help people to shift through, because once they drop that belief and once they start to recognize that their body's not faulty, their body's not broken, their environment is broken, that's when you open the doors to healing. That's when you can, it's like having a wound in your finger. If you've got a wound in your finger and you just leave it, you just go, okay, great, yeah, my finger's got a cut on it, it's going to heal, that's fantastic. that's going to heal, right? You don't need to think about it. You don't need to do anything. Sure, you can put a Band-Aid on it, but the Band-Aid's not going to do the thing it's not the thing that's doing the healing. It's actually your body. Your body knows how to heal. But the thing is, if you had a cut on your finger, having thoughts around your body like, oh, my body's broken, or it's something wrong with it, it's never going to get better, my body's stuffed, my body's screwed, my body's whatever you want to say. It's like sticking your finger inside that wound and opening it up a little bit. These thoughts are very, very powerful, guys. And the more that you have these thoughts about there is something wrong with me or my body's broken, it's literally like reopening that wound. And that delays the healing time for whatever you're going through. So Germany medicine helps you to understand that your symptoms are meaningful, your symptoms are purposeful, and your symptoms are actually helping you to cope with changes in your environment. So if you're being chased by a lion and you start getting increased heart rate and your blood pressure increases, you wouldn't be going, oh no, what's wrong with me? Why is my blood pressure increasing? No, of course not. But the thing is, you'd go, oh, my blood pressure is increasing because my body's adapting, my body's responding to this stressful event in the environment. And most of the time, in nature, for example, the stress response should last from seconds to a few minutes at max. Like, take the example of being chased by a tiger, is that should only last 2 minutes. Either you get killed or you make it out alive. And once that's over, the stress response finishes. But for you, where is it that you're being chased by figurative lions in your brain? Where is it that you're experiencing or hanging on to old emotional hurts, old emotional pains, old resentments? Where is it that your self-talk is really critical? And where is it that you're very hard on yourself and beating yourself up? Because this is like being chased by a lion. Like I said at the start, your brain does not know the difference between real stress and imagined stress, right? So by having these thoughts, by having these feelings and these unresolved emotional baggage, it's actually causing your body to physically adapt and physically respond, which is great because it's helping you to cope. And so the thing is, it's not a matter of fixing your symptom, it's a matter of fixing your environment. It's a matter of fixing what's going on typically between your ears, fixing what's the stressful event that's going on in your life and dealing with that and not your symptom. That's when you can really start to heal. Now, on that, if we look at the law of attraction, the law of attraction talks about, let's get a bit woo-woo for a minute here, guys. I hope you don't mind. I love this kind of spiritual stuff. Now, the law of attraction talks about whatever you focus on is what you create. Wherever you place your attention is where you place your energy, and where you place your energy is what grows. So what's a good example of that? And I think one of the most easy to understand examples for that is finances and money. So if you've watched The Secret, if you've done any kind of law of attraction reading or anything like that, is if you place your attention on feeling and being wealthy and being grateful for what you have, you're going to attract more of that. You're going to attract more abundance into your life. Whereas if you're focusing on what you don't have and if you're focusing on lack, that's what you're going to get as well. So this is a really simple example of where you focus is what you're going to get. So if you're focused on, in this example, your body is being broken and there's something wrong with me and I've got a problem and it's all bad, that's actually what you're going to get more of. And so this is a pattern that actually causes people to stay stuck within their symptoms. By focusing on problems, you get more problems. Whereas if you understand that your body is actually working for you and helping you to adapt to these changes in your environment, all of a sudden you can drop that, and you can, instead of being upset at your body or being annoyed that your body is broken or faulty again, you can actually start to appreciate your body and go, oh, thanks, this is fantastic. My body's adapting. My body is responding to some kind of change in the environment. And when you do this, when you take your attention off fixing the problem starts to become less of an issue. And one of the things that my students have learned, and what's helped them to become real mind-body masters and have that ability to heal themselves from the inside out, is learning that we don't fix problems by focusing on our symptoms. We fix those symptoms by focusing on our environment. And when you change your attention, when you change what you're focusing on, when you shift that from, oh my God, I need to fix this thing here now, this pain, I need to fix it, it's wrong, I'm broken, I need to fix this thing. When you shift your thoughts and your attention from trying to resolve that symptom, and when you look to your environment, when you look to that environment and go, oh, actually, my body's adapting, my body is responding to changes in the environment, What is it in the environment that I need to fix? What is it in the environment that I need to change? What is it in my mind that I need to heal? When you make that shift, you stop perpetuating the cycle of symptoms, you stop making your symptom worse, and you open the doors to healing. So this is a really, really important message. This is a really important step. It's one of the first things that you need to grasp in order to start healing from your inside, and that is to recognize that your body is not broken. By no means at all. Your body is creating smart, meaningful adaptations designed to help you cope with stressful events in your life, stressful events in your mind. But the thing is, these adaptations, that Mother Nature has created, we've labeled them as problems. We've labeled them as malfunctions. But the thing is, Mother Nature never stuffs up. She's perfect. You don't look at that plant that I talked about earlier and go, there's something wrong with that plant. That plant is diseased. Oh, it looks horrible. No, you go, what's going on in that plant's environment and how do I do that? Now, when you can start to treat your symptoms in that exact same way, that's when you are going to start to heal. So I'm going to leave you on that. And I want you to journal on this question, if you so choose. And what if my body is not broken, but actually working perfectly? I want you to start to journal on that. And then I want you to look at, if you are someone who's struggling with symptoms or battling your health or fighting against some kind of pain or other condition, is instead of focusing on your problem, start looking at what's going on in your environment. Start looking for the ongoing stresses that you're experiencing. Start looking for the things that trigger you. Start looking at what's going on in between your ears with your self-talk and your thoughts. And once you start shifting your attention from trying to fix that problem and fix that symptom to fixing your environment, everything is going to change for you. So that's all I got time for today. I hope you found this episode really, really useful. And like always, if you have found this episode useful, please share it with other people, other like-minded people who are starting to realize there's more to their health than just fixing problems. There's actually a much deeper, a more emotional, mental, spiritual part of healing that we need to start addressing. So if you know people that are maybe battling or struggling or fighting with their health, send them this episode, because this could really make the difference for them. And this, like I said, could open the doors for healing for that person. So thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you for listening to the Mind Body Masters podcast. Now, everyone has the ability to heal themselves with the right tools, information, and guidance. So if you have someone in your life that needs to hear this message, please share this episode with them so they too can start healing from the inside out. Now, if you've liked this episode and you think more people need to hear this message, please give us a great rating on iTunes, because it helps more people to actually hear this message and realize the power that they have. Now, if you'd like more information and you'd like to access bonus video content and even have the ability to ask me questions directly, then head on over to my free Facebook group, the Mind Body Masters Heal Yourself from the Inside Out group. Or you can head on over to Instagram and slide into my DMs there. My handle is Jake_Curry. All right, guys, thank you so much again for listening, and I'll catch you again on the next episode.